What was supposed to be an exciting time ended in chaos at the Australian Grand Prix. As expected for this season, Max Verstappen claimed the victory for Red Bull in Melbourne, but not without the typical dose of disorder and disarray that F1 seems to excel in delivering. Stick around for more details. The main problem the race brought was the issues of the way F1 handles race finishes when there's a significant incident in the closing stages. The event began when an attempted two-lap showdown after a red flag turned to chaos within seconds. The incident resulted in a neutralized safety car finish after many complaints led by eventual winner Max Verstappen and third-place finisher Fernando Alonso. The decision left many fans upset since they felt the organizers prioritized the race by trying to ensure a green flag finish. Why was such a decision made in the first place? Is there a perfect solution for this sort of incident? When Kelvin Magnussen hit the wall during his exciting Turn 2 on lap 53 of the 58 race circuit in Melbourne, the assumption was that the race would end behind the safety car. Nonetheless, F1 decided to red flag the race, giving us a two-lap showdown to decide the outcome, even though the racers initially called the safety car. The decision confused many drivers who expressed their thoughts over the radio. Over 20 seconds of chaos on the restart followed, which began with Carlos Sainz hitting Fernando Alonso at Turn 1. Then, Sergio Perez went through the gravel, and the Alpine drivers collided and fired themselves into the wall at the second turn. The chaos continued with 3 large strolls sliding off into the gravel. F1 blamed coal tires and red flagged them again. The organizers allowed the cars to re-emerge after a prolonged delay. F1 set the restart order so that they could run the laps left behind by the safety car. Having escaped the chaos, Max Verstappen won the race, but expressed his confusion at the red flag issued to Magnussen's crash, calling it a mess. In addition, the Red Bull driver said the safety car at that point would be fine. If there had been some for a restart, then a rolling start would have prevented the chaotic incident that followed. Summarily, Verstappen blamed the organizers for the anarchy that followed. Also, Verstappen and Alonso said the drivers would express their opinions to the F1 at the next race in Baku about the events that happened during the Australian GP. During the post-race interview, Verstappen and Alonso expressed their shock at the late red flag issued towards the end of the race and the earlier one issued after Alex Albon's crash. Nonetheless, the two popular drivers accepted that the officials have more information than the drivers during races and must be trusted by the drivers irrespective of the outcome of such situations. Furthermore, Alonso believed that the one slow lap behind the safety car wasn't enough for all the drivers to get their tires up to temperature on the weekend race, where they had even been doing several laps during qualifying to warm their tires up. However, he believed that the main reason for the chaotic end to the race came from drivers taking too many risks to better their results during races. Irrespective of the cause of the anarchy, the Australian GP became the newest installment of the ongoing controversy over how races should end if there is a significant incident close to the end. The FIA explained their decision. The initial safety car period for Magnussen's crash was upgraded to a red flag because of wheel rim debris on the circuit. The officials suspected the chaotic end was motivated by drivers' desires to finish races faster, as Verstappen said that many drivers were confused by the red flag. While it was true that the FIA had set out its stall to push to ensure more green flag finishes happened, which was the main reason for the Abu Dhabi controversy in 2021, there was a precedent for such decisions. An example is the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. There were 2 lap restarts after a red flag that officials correctly threw after Verstappen suffered a tire failure and crash, covering the main straight line with debris. The FIA argued that their decision during this latest race in Australia was identical, but with less wreckage to clear up. Another precedent was Monza in 2022, where the race finished under the safety car after Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren ended with an oil leak. There was little time for a restart, and the delay in the recovery was triggered by the car being stuck in gear. The entire incident led to sweeping criticism of the safety car finish. The FIA learned from this incident and took a more aggressive approach, as we saw in Australia over the weekend. When officials again threw the red flag after the chaotic restart attempt, the leader was approaching Turn 5. With the order dramatically shaken up by all the happenings, it wasn't the order used for the final restart, because the regulations are only used at certain points on the lap. At that time, the Monza race drivers still needed to complete Sector 1, so the safety car rule could only apply from the second car line known as SC2. The line appears before turn 1. The second location, where the particular type of safety car rule applies, is at the end of Sector 1, which the field had yet to reach in Monza. The newest case where this scenario was a factor was at Silverstone in 2022. Zhou Guanyu's barrier vaulting accident at the start of the race. The race restarted with cars in their original grid order because a red flag was thrown before all cars had crossed the SC2 line. This step was not considered in Australia because it needed to be a fair indicator given the number of cars were changing into turn 1 rapidly to make it. Therefore, the restart order was given with the Alpine drivers eliminated because they had yet to complete track 57 following their collision at turn 2. Their collision at turn 2 meant that there was 1 lap left, so the restart order was effectively the finish order, except for Sainz, which received a 5 seconds penalty for hitting Alonso. Typically, there were winners and losers from how organizers applied Australia's rules. One of the losers in last weekend's race was Nico Hülkenberg, and he was 4th in the race before it was red flagged. Hülkenberg and his team would have made their first podium finish this season if he had finished in 4th place. When Sainz was penalized, he lodged a protest arguing the way the order had been reset was incorrect. However, there was only one team to lodge such a complaint. AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo would also have benefited but were satisfied with the outcome. Others would have benefited, including Sergio Perez, who was ahead of Lance Stroll and Yuki Tsunoda. Whatever decision F1 takes in these situations, it can't escape public backlash if the race ends under a safety car every time there is an incident. F1 and the FIA have since been eager to prevent races from coming to a close in a train behind the safety car. That thought drove the decision in Abu Dhabi in 2021, where Michael Masi, the race director, improvised around the rules to a costly effect. His decision will be remembered for denying Lewis Hamilton his 8th title and helping Verstappen claim his first. However, the FIA concluded that there had been a human error, and Masi lost his job. It is impossible not to observe the distinctive bias to throw a red flag sooner rather than later. Abu Dhabi's influence is still felt, and indeed has since further compounded the red flag bias, but the FIA cites safety as the priority behind stopping a race. However, it is also unquestionable that standing starts after a red flag brings more drama and spectacle to any race. Some drivers believe F1 organizers used the red flag debacle to make races more exciting. The debate is unlikely to die quickly and overshadow what was otherwise an excellent performance by Verstappen and his Red Bull team. He finished the race 1.11 seconds clear of Hamilton and cruising. The Red Bull's straight line and cornering speeds incredible. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll finished 3rd and 4th in a race that disappointed many fans because of incidents before its conclusion. However, fans can expect more controversies in upcoming races because the FIA can implement rules as they seem fit to ensure the safety of drivers and their cars.